tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina Speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You hear with some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome, one and all. Yes, hello to our friends and family near and far. I'm going to say it right now that if you're experiencing any issues on YouTube, that's beyond our control. So please, if you're having any issues streaming on YouTube, that's beyond our control. They are experiencing some problems over there, but please let me know if that is indeed the case. I'm just letting you, for all of you who actually prefer the YouTube streams, this is beyond our control, and the tech people are trying to work it out, but I see everything on my end shows that it's green. But just in case there's anything, just jump on the stream here on Facebook from whatever platform you're on, be it the CMR or the Sabrina Turner Community Activist Facebook page. Just letting you know, just in case somebody's saying, is Sabrina on? Is Sabrina on? It's you're watching from YouTube. We could be having some problems. It's beyond our control. But it's good to be back with you here this evening. Welcome. Like I said, one and all, for another episode of Sabrina Speaks, Voices of the Islands, Conversations for the World. And the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. Yes, it's Tuesday, and we are back after a long Easter weekend. For some of us who didn't have to work, but maybe some of you guys are still on Easter break, because I know some just extend the camping thing. Wow, I think a week is a bit long, but to each his own. I'm not judging. Kudos to you. That is what it is. But for some, really, the break started as early as 5 p.m. or maybe you took last break, 4 p.m. on Thursday. I know for sure that the beaches were busy. The waterways was busy, despite us having some light chop across the North Sound. I saw it. And the roads as well, or I would say Saturday was a little busy. Thursday was, that was mayhem, which I told you that on the show on Thursday. But OMG, what I experienced on Saturday in the supermarkets, I did not expect. I'm sorry. I just did not expect it. I decided to just go do some grocery shopping on Saturday, saying I got up early. And I was on the road by 8:15 and say, yes, girl, it's a long weekend. Everybody's at their campsites. It's just going to be me in the carts and just strolling along like Mary Poppins. Oh my God. You could barely find parking. You could barely find carts. And then the lines were down the aisles. And I'm like, oh my goodness, is this the impact of our growth in our population? And Eric reminded me, he's like, you were thinking 5, 6, 7 years back where it was less people. And maybe a lot of people were thinking just like you, because they probably saw the traffic on the road on Thursday. And let me tell you something. It was the Christmas Saturday between Cost You Less and Foster's. Oh my Goodness. Anyhow, I saw a lot of people got some connections. Some of you were just topping up after the Good Friday, still camping on the beach and going back. But, despite all of that, I would say that the island did get a chance to breathe just for a little bit. We welcome a lot of us look forward for this long weekend. And, but today is no different. We're back. We started the week and we're going to definitely shift gears because, yes, as the island wakes back up after its slumber of the Easter weekend, the pace is picking up and we're stepping in and have stepped in to a new week and a short week at that. So whether you're heading back from work or from school or just back to routine, let's carry, please, a little Easter sunshine with all of us. I know some of you carrying sunburns. Y'all gonna be peeling. But just in case you got your long weekend holiday clock still ticking, the next public holiday weekend for us will be Monday, the 18th of May. That's going to be the next long weekend for us. That's Discovery Day. So another long weekend is coming up. Make your plans, whatever that's going to be. So that's Monday, May 18th is the next one. By then, you should be all healed and all of the peeling should go away. I don't know whether or not you're jumping and fetting or whatever it is you're doing. Yeah, I could probably jump. Don't judge me. But you know what? I'm Sabrina, and let's get into it. Let's just get our Tuesday rolling because our topic today, yes, I see you all. Our topic today is accountability or allowances. That's the question. And I'm hoping that we can talk about the value of your money in this context, because when the public funds, and I've heard a lot of the talking, I'm hearing you, I'm seeing the comments as well. When public funds rise, but accountability doesn't, the people lose twice. I hope you heard what I said. So what my aim is today that we're going to be breaking down is the new legislative changes. We're going to put the law up on the screen because I get the fact that you like these. Yes, we're going to look at the new legislative changes in this bill. We're also going to dissect the 6,500 constituency allowance and what that really means for you. Yes, no government facility, pretty much is what I'm getting as well, just being spoken, should be used as a constituency office is actually making its head yet again. And it's time that, people are saying that we really need a little bit more transparency because and the value of your money because it's what you, Cayman, deserve. Well, our number here to call and join in on this conversation after we've presented what the bill is saying, and you know how we do it here. I like to go through it, break it down in layman's terms as much as I can for you. And of course, once you remain on topic, you are welcome to chime in on the conversation, give us your feedback, let us know how you feel about it, whether or not you feel you are getting value for money. Well, whether or not this is the time that you feel this should be done, how you feel about this. This is a bill. This is a bill for public discussion. And all I am doing for full disclosure is just delivering it to you in layman's terms for you to understand what's going to be debated and what changes are being proposed. So again, 345-936-8255 is the number to call or WhatsApp to be a part of this conversation this evening. But please remember, the content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself, guests, and our participants, is intended solely for general informational and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional legal, medical, or financial advice. And I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for specific concerns. Bridge Media Limited and all its affiliates disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented here. Just before going into the core of the discussion this evening, as you go ahead, like, follow, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends we're live right here for another episode of Sabrina Speaks. Let's hear what's happening with our weather here today. In this evening's weather update, compliments of our friends from the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. Now, the synopsis calls for a weak pressure gradient across the northwest Caribbean, and this is allowing for light winds and smooth seas to persist. Now, the chance of showers remain low due to a dry, stable atmosphere. Radar imagery shows no showers in and around the Cayman area. The forecast for tonight is calling for mostly fair skies with a 20% chance of showers. Temperatures will fall near the mid 70s and winds will be light and variable. Seas will become smooth with wave heights of less than 2 feet. And the forecast for tomorrow calls for mostly fair skies with a 20% chance of showers. Now, temperatures will rise to the mid near 80s with a heat index of 92 degrees. Winds will be slight and variable, and seas will be smooth with wave heights of less than 2 feet. There will be a low tide at 6:50 this evening, a high tide tomorrow at 2:59 a.m., and another low tide is set for 9:41 a.m. The sun will set this evening at 6:40 and sun will rise tomorrow morning at 6:14. Now, the outlook is for a gradual increase in winds across the northwest Caribbean as the pressure gradient tightens, since a high pressure system over the eastern United States is forecasted to strengthen, and the chance of showers remain low through the next 72 hours. Now, that concludes our evening's weather and into this evening and definitely into tomorrow. There you have it. Welcome, welcome, one and all. Let's take a look at what's happening in our news today. And we'll do our news starting with local news. Yes, breaking news. A Grand Court jury this afternoon returned a unanimous not guilty verdict in a high-profile blackmail case against Cayman Mall Road founder Sandra Hill. Now, Justice Emma Peters directed jurors to acquit after ruling the prosecution's evidence could not properly be put before a jury. Hill was formally cleared of blackmail and attempting to obstruct justice, ending the case without deliberation. Now, the acquittal adds to a long list of unsuccessful prosecutions brought against her, and legal observers say the outcome raises renewed questions about the DPP's approach to cases involving journalists and public commentary. We will definitely keep you abreast of this, and I'm quite sure Sandra herself will definitely give you a more in-depth and exclusive feedback on this. More in our local news. 2 serious criminal cases involving minors are now before the courts. In the first matter, Frank Ralston Ebanks Narvez of West Bay resident has pled not guilty to 5 counts of indecent assault involving a 14-year-old girl. In a separate case, Linville Philip Forshaw has pleaded not guilty to 11 charges related to violent and sexual abuse of his 15-year-old girlfriend. Now, these cases have intensified public concern about youth protection and domestic violence here in the Cayman Islands. More on the local front. The Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture has successfully coordinated the relocation of the historic Louise Llewellyn House, now moved in the early hours of the 5th of April through a major multi-agency effort. That house was built in 1875, and the home is one of Cayman's oldest surviving examples of traditional architecture. Now, it will now undergo restoration at its new site on Bobby Thompson Way, ensuring this important piece of Cayman's heritage is preserved for future generations. And on other local fronts, local immigration attorneys are urging the government to release the new Immigration Act regulations, which takes effect this Friday, 1st of May. Now, law firm HSM says the public still doesn't know the rules that will govern key changes, including when work permit holders can switch employers in the first 2 years. Now, attorneys warn that without the regulations, both workers and businesses are left unprepared. Now, the Cayman Islands swim team, yes, has wrapped up an outstanding performance at the Carifta Aquatics Championship in Martinique, which officially ended yesterday. Now, our athletes delivered medal-winning swims and personal best, and finals appearances put the Cayman Islands firmly on the regional map. Now, from sprint events to distance races, Cayman swimmers showed heart, discipline, and world-class potential. We will also keep you up to date with this as we congratulations to Team Cayman. And definitely you've all represented the Cayman Islands with pride, passion, and excellence. So we celebrate you today, and we can't wait to see what you do next in the future as you continue to evolve. And of course, with government support, we create the environment that brings good results such as this. Yes, yes, yes. Turning our attention over to the Caribbean and global news this evening, before we get into a wrap-up, yes, we see where CARICOM governments are closely monitoring the fallout with Iran conflict. Now, that's assessing potential impacts on Caribbean energy supplies and trade routes. Officials stress that there is no direct threat to the region at this time, but says contingency planning remains a priority as global tensions rise. Across the Caribbean, educators and science groups are also celebrating yesterday's successful lunar orbit mission. Several schools hosted Easter Monday watch events, calling the achievement as an inspiration for young Caribbean students interested in engineering and space science. Also, Caribbean disaster agencies are stepping up hurricane season preparations, reviewing shelter, emergency communications, and supply stockpiles. Officials say early readiness is essential to climate-driven storms as they continue to intensify across the region. And in Caribbean, economies remain stable but vulnerable as rising fuel costs and market uncertainty affects forecasts. Now, governments are urging households and businesses to plan cautiously as inflation and external pressures continue. In global news, we see wherein tensions remain high as fighting continues between Iran and regional coalition forces. Overnight strikes targeted military infrastructure, prompting renewed international calls for a de-escalation. Humanitarian groups warns that civilian displacement is increasing, and world leaders are pushing for a return to diplomatic negotiation. Also, in regional news, CNN is reporting that the Iran war has now having cascading impact on the global economy, with disruption spreading from food supplies to fertilizer production. Analysts say that the conflict is straining shipping routes, driving up energy costs, and putting pressure on agricultural markets worldwide. Economists warns that if instability continues, consumers could face higher prices and tighter supply chains in the months ahead. In a major UK music festival, yes, that has been cancelled after British Home Office blocked Kanye West from entering the country. Withdrawing his electronic travel authorization, West was scheduled to be the headliner in the Wireless Festival this July, but officials cited that his history of anti-Semitic statements has grounds for the ban. With sponsors pulling out and no replacement headliner secured, organizers confirmed that the event could not go ahead. In space news, NASA says its crew's spacecraft completed a full orbit of the moon yesterday, marking a major milestone for the Artemis program. Now, the crew concluded system checks and captured high-resolution lunar imagery, with agency confirming that the mission remains on track for the next critical phase. And global markets opened mixed today as investors reacted to the U.S. economic data, showing slower job growth and persistent inflation. European and Asian markets are fluctuating amid energy price concerns and geopolitical uncertainty. Economists also say that the next quarter will be crucial as central banks weigh future interest rates decisions. And that concludes this evening news from the region and international as well. Welcome, welcome one and all to every one of you who are just joining us. Hope that you had a very good Easter weekend. And if you're still at the campsite, woohoo, kudos to you. You got definitely the stamina. Wherever you are, it's good that you're joining us today, and it's good to be back with you as we get, we like those old Buick after a long weekend, got to crank us up to get us going. Yeah. But I'm happy to be here. Happy birthday to everyone who's celebrating a birthday today, and definitely who've celebrated a birthday over the weekend. And thank you for the love being shared. And if you haven't already, please go on and let's share the love as Connie, Bonnie, and Danny are celebrating 14 years of their wedding. Wedding bliss, Connie, Bonnie. Happy wedding anniversary from all of us here on the Sabrina Speaks platform. You're a huge supporter. We love you. We share this space with you, and wishing you God's blessings and many, many more wedding anniversaries again. I wonder how much orchids he gave you, or how much orchids you demanded for today. 14? It'll be interesting. But we celebrate with you both. Happy anniversary, Danny and Connie. May you live to see many more, and continues to be bliss from all of us here on the Sabrina Speaks. And show your love in the comments below and share it with Connie and Mr. Danny. Yes. And definitely our thoughts and prayers also go out to those who are mourning the loss of a loved one as well. But like I said, 345 Jimbo, sending love out to you. I didn't get to you this weekend. Don't you worry. Thursday ain't gonna pass, my love. I'm gonna call you. Sending our loves to Jimbo. Yes. So if you want to know more and be a part, I see you, Connie. But it's good. Carol's in the house. Good evening, my love. Good evening. I wonder where you're doing dinner tonight. Special. I'll leave it to you. Marshall's also in the house. Yes. It's so good to have you here. Connie said that she spent the entire Easter with her plants in her garden. What a beautiful place to be. Hey, Miss Edith, how are you? Happy Easter to you, my love. Hope that you had a good one as well. Omar Smith, hi to you. Andrew, how you had? How blessed Tuesday to you? How was your Easter? Got sunburn? Donnie, what about you? You got sunburn? You went out on the boat? Where'd you go? Plenty of y'all went Cayman Brack too, but a lot of you were about a day late because I heard that there were some serious breakdown in the flights over there, and some of you got in a day late. So your Easter holidays got cut one day short because of unfortunate delays or cancellations of flight. But for all of you who made it over there in the Brack and Little Cayman, I'm quite sure you all had a blast as well, and you loved the time off. Yep. So good. I'm just so happy it all went well. We're back, getting ready, cranking up this old Buick so we can get started on topics that matter, because you do as well. Like I said, 345-936-8255 is a number to call to be a part of the conversation this evening, keeping on topic so that we can cover this important bill and what the amendments mean in layman's terms as I can get it as possible. So if you've missed it and didn't see the flyer, welcome. Coming in late, just share the love. Just tell people we're on tonight and we're talking about a bill. It is out for public consultation, and we're talking about something that's going to affect everyone, how the rules of the games change, and how your money is being used, whether or not you're getting value for it. Let me start by saying this clearly. Opposition having an office, I'm getting sentiments from you, no problem. This is feedback that I've received over the weekend, for the record. Does the opposition have access to resources? No problem there. That's democracy, right? That's how a balanced system works. But come close and listen. But increasing the constituency office allowance to $6,500 a month, when some MPs don't even have an office, or the office doesn't function as it should, or the public doesn't really have access to it, now that's where the conversation changes. we're going to bring to you the bill. I'm not here to give you my opinion. I'm here to deliver in layman's terms what this amendment means. And these amendments are coming to our legislation to formalize these increases. But what we don't have and what I see is missing, and I'll make you be the judge of that once I present it to you, is the accountability part. No requirement for full opening hours, no requirements for MPs to actually be in office on set days, no requirements to report how the money is spent, and no requirements to prove that the office even exists. So listen to this. This money is not given to MPs to hand out to constituents. It's not given to honestly pay people's utility bills. It's not given to buy favors or curry support. It's given to operate a functioning office. Rent, utilities, supplies, a place where you can walk in and seek assistance, guidance. Get help then. And please allow me, because some of you are whispering, but you said it to me, and I'm going to say it on behalf of all of those who've made representations to me. No government facility should ever be used as a constituency office. Under no circumstances is what people are saying. And that is not what the allowance is for, okay? Leadership cannot rise above the cost of living while people fall beneath it. So if you want to know what this legislation is changing, please allow me, yes, to bring it to you. I will share the link below for you. I will put it up here on the screen. Let's break it down together, okay? Let me get the link. Let me just share the link with you so that you can download it and read it at your own time, because we know how that goes. And I just want to be fully transparent with you at all times. Let me just copy this link. So if you doubt me, you can go through it, but I will do my best to break it down for you. Little by little, step by step, each page, okay? So pretty much what the bill wants to change in the Parliamentary Act, as you see it here, the Parliament Management Act, is that 4 key things pretty much, right? The leader of the opposition gets an official office and staff paid for by public funds, your money, okay? That's what it's proposing. That's 1. 2, every MP gets a constituency office manager hired by the government to help run their office. 3, members of Parliament get more money for their constituency office allowance, now being proposed $6,500 per month. And the 4th part of this amendment covers where some members of Parliament, specifically the Deputy Speaker and Deputy Leader of the opposition, is proposed to get a 10% salary increase for their roles. So that's the core of exactly what you're seeing here. Yes. Okay? We will break this down clause by clause, and I will do my best to actually do it step by step for you as you follow along with me here this evening. Okay? So you have the objects and the reason. That pretty much breaks it down, what everything is saying, and in a synopsis. This is like the executive summary, right? And then you have where it has your table of contents, the different clauses, which I will be going through 1 to 8 with you today in layman's terms. So please tell your friend if you don't understand what this is it in layman's terms, okay? So let's start with clause 1. that it says, as you can see here, zoom in if you want. I've put the link so you can follow along with me. This says short title and commencement. And I'm going to be doing this in layman's terms, so I'm going to be consolidating it for you as best as I can, okay? Now, this is just saying what the law is called when it comes into effect. Nothing controversial here, to really be honest with you, because this is the clause that tells us what the law is called when it officially starts working, so to speak. And what it is called is that this is the act, may be cited as the Parliament Management Amendment Act of 2026. And this is the act that comes into force for publication. That's why it's called a bill. So most of the law becomes active as soon as it is published, meaning that the moment it's officially released. So in this case, this is a bill. You start the public consultation. Okay? And what we're saying here is that following the amendments, they're deemed to come into force, listen to this, on the 1st of January 2026. You may say, what's she talking about? Because we're in April. Now, this is the important part, okay? Because what this bill is saying is that 2 specific changes in the law will be treated as though they started from January 1st of 2026. Even though the law is being passed or is expected to be passed at a later date. This, my friends, is called a retroactive effect. Okay? When you look at the Schedule 1 of this, yes, we're going. When you look at the Schedule 1 of this and the amendment to paragraph 1, subsection 2 and part 2 of the schedule, which I'll break down, those 2 changes will be backdated to January 1st of 2026. Yes. And anytime the law is backdated, the public should pay close attention, because retroactive changes usually means that someone wants the financial or administrative benefits to start earlier, even before the law was officially passed. In this case, for this particular bill, the retroactive parts relate to allowances, terms and conditions, and salary-related adjustment. So what you, the public, need to understand is that the bill makes certain financial benefits effective from January 1st, even though the law is being considered now, after the fact. And that means that the increased costs to the public starts earlier than the law itself. Okay? You get where I'm coming from with that? Yes. Moving right along to clause 2, because I would want you to weigh in on this, and let's get your opinion, but let's be informed first, okay? Clause 2, as you can see here now, is pretty much a cleaning up language, right? And what this clause 2 is saying is that it's updating the wording in the law so that it's consistent, and it refers to members of parliament, and pretty much what you call this is basic housekeeping, right? And this section is just about, like I said, how it cleaning up the wording of the law. It does not change any powers. It doesn't change money, responsibilities, or even the rules. All it is doing in clause 2, as stated there, it's simply updating how the law refers to members of parliament. The bill goes through the entire Parliament Management Act, and it replaces members of parliament to member of parliament to members of parliament. Okay, so that's really what it's a tidy up exercise. So it's really fixing a grammatical errors and making wording consistent everywhere in the law. And this particular clause doesn't change anything major. Again, it's housekeeping, but it's important because it shows that the bill is being cleaned up to look more polished, be more official. And the bigger changes really and truly is not that, it comes later. What I would want to refer to as the calm before the storm, because the real impact begins in the next clauses, okay? You see that I have up here clause 3, which says interpretation, which is one and same as definitions. Okay? Now, these changes in the definitions of two roles connected to MP's constituency office, and these definition matters because it determines who hires staff, who they answer to, and what their responsibilities are. Okay? And what it actually says, because one of the position is the constituency assistant, constituency office assistant. You used to hear them say COAAs, right? Now defined as someone, this constituency office assistant is being defined as someone who's appointed now by a chief officer, not by the member of parliament, not by the member elected or who they provide services to. Okay? And what the bill really says is that a constituency assistant is now being defined as someone appointed by the chief officer, not by the MP, and their job is to provide service to that elected MP. If I sound repetitive here this evening, it is deliberate because I want you to get it. If you're not accustomed to reading laws, you will appreciate the repetitiveness, okay? So don't think that I'm repeating myself. There's a reason why I'm doing it, so you get it. In this particular case, a constituency, like I said, is absolutely no longer hired by an MP. They're hired, like we said, the chief officer, a senior government administrator. That's what this is saying. They work with the MP, but they're not the MP's employee. And this matters a lot because MPs now lose somewhat of control over who works in their office. Now, if it's wrong, I challenge somebody to come out, but this is the interpretation of what's in the public's domain to be considered, right? And why this also matters is because staff may feel more accountable to the government than the MP or the public. But it raises questions then about independence and political influences somewhat. And it changes the dynamic of constituency services as well. Now, this is a major shift in how constituency offices operate. Remember, this is a bill for public discussion. The other role that is being introduced is a constituency office manager. And this new position is also appointed by the chief officer responsible for managing the MP's constituency office. Now, this person, this managerial position, will run the MP's office, such as, let's say, scheduling of operation, administration, day-to-day management. And in plain terms, MPs will no longer hire staff. I repeat, the government agency will hire them and assign them. But again, food for thought. The MP does not hire them. The MP does not fire them. And they are appointed by who? The chief officer. And why this matters? This is even more significant than the assistant role, because a constituency office manager is the person who sets the tone of the office, manages staff, somewhat controls the workflow, oversees public access, ensures the office is open, and also handle administrative decisions. And if this person then is not hired by the MP, then who do they really answer to? Who evaluates their performance? Who ensure that they will be serving the public and not public interests? What happens then if the MP and the manager disagrees? Think about that. There is a possibility that this may actually create or could create potential conflict between the political independence and the administrative control. And these raise some questions. And questions about independence, accountability. Yeah. And what happens if the relationship's broken down? So at the end of the day, this clause 3 changes who controls the constituency office. MPs will no longer hire their own staff. The government, the civil servants will. Okay? And that means that the people working in your MP's office may not answer to the MP, and by extension, may not answer to you. Because when the chief officer hires the office manager and the assistant, it can have a possibility of raising real questions about the independence and accountability and who these staff truly serve. Because if the public is paying $6,500 a month for an office, then the MP, do you agree or disagree? I welcome your comments, should have some sort of control over the staff who runs it and another arm, and not necessarily another arm of government. Again, I'm just delivering what the bill is saying, okay? We then look at what you see here on the screen where it says clause 4, new powers for the commission. Now in layman's terms, quick synopsis, and I will break it down again for you. This clause changes the general functions of the commission. And the commission is a body that manages Parliament's administrative operation. And what this section actually in this bill is saying is that it's adding 2 additional responsibilities for the commission. Okay, let me break it down. The commission, which oversees Parliament operations, will now be responsible for providing constituency office managers for the MPs, and also would be providing an office for the staff of the Leader of the Opposition. It's all stated here. The commission then becomes the Human Resources Department for the MPs' offices. That's what this is saying. And what it is that the commission is now officially responsible for giving every MP constituency office a office manager. This means that the actual commission, the separate body, hires them, the commission assigns them, and the commission oversees them, not the MP. And this, my friends, is a major shift in control. Yes, because the person who runs an MP's office is the one who sets the hours, manages the staff, organizes the public, and keeps the office functioning, is not hired by your member of Parliament, is not hired by your constituency representative. And some may feel that this raises some questions. It goes back to what I said earlier. Who does the office manager truly answer to? Then what happens if the MP and the manager disagrees? How does the public hold anyone accountable if the MP doesn't control their own office operations? Some may look at it on the flip side and say, well, if government is funding it and they're not paying it out of what salary they're making, then why not? I'm just delivering it. Don't shoot the messenger. This, my friends, is a structural change that affects independence, accountability, and service quality. And there's another part of it, B. The commission must provide an office and staff for the Leader of the Opposition. What that is actually saying is that now this said commission must now ensure that the Leader of Opposition has, 1, a proper office, 2, staff to support that office, yes, and this is similar to that of what the Premier already has, okay? It's quite similar to that. And this part, some of you are saying, is reasonable. We've heard the cries of the opposition that's saying they don't have access to resources and all that sort of stuff, and it's very hard to do their jobs, even if they want to have and to defend. But the leader of the opposition has constitutional duties and needs proper support to carry them out, is the argument being raised here. And I'm getting that a lot of you are not totally against that with reason. But again, the commission hires the staff. The parliamentary commission controls the resources, not the leader of the opposition. And this centralizes power in the commission rather than the elected officials. Yes, because clause 4, the same clause that's on the screen, shifts control to of the constituency offices away from elected MPs and into the hands of the commission. And the said commission will now hire and assign the office managers to run your MP's offices. And that means people responsible for serving you may not answer your MP. And that weakens. There's a possibility that that could weaken accountability. And where the leader of the opposition is concerned, he will now get an office and staff, which is appropriate. But again, the staff are controlled by the commission and not the elected leader. So one of the questions I'm hearing we should ask, who does the staff truly serve? It would all make sense at the very at the end. Because when the public is paying for these offices, you're saying that you want more transparency, somewhat more of an independence, some more accountability, and not a system where the lines of responsibilities are blurred, is what I'm hearing. And then some of you saying, here we go again. We are struggling and they are fattening and lining their own. You think, I'm getting the messages. I'm getting them. I'm seeing them. I'm only delivering the bill. Let's move to clause 5. This is the new rules for office staff, because this clause removes the old section without constituency, about constituency assistants, and it replaces it with a new section that covers constituency office managers and constituency assistants, staff for the leader of the opposition. And all of these people, like I said, will now fall under Schedule 2, which will come up shortly, which sets out their contracts, their rules and conditions, right? And really and truly what this is saying in this 12A, what is really saying is that Schedule 2 applies to the managers and the assistants. They too are appointed by the chief officers to provide these services. And the rules in Schedule 2 now apply to both the person who runs the MP office, aka the office manager, and the person who supports the MP, that being the assistant. Now, both of these positions, as cited in this clause 5, are again hired by the chief officer, not hired by your elected member of parliament, and government employees that are assigned to the MPs. So what this really means is that MPs do not choose based on what is presented their own office staff. MPs can't fire their office staff. MPs don't control the terms of employment. And staff may be feeling more accountable to the chief officer than to the MP or the public. Now, this is a little hybrid, because what happened to all of those persons now who already have active contracts that they're already in there? This is just me delivering what the bill is saying. This, my friends, is a major structural shift in how the constituency offices will operate. Because 12A, subsection 2, talking about the staff for the leader of the opposition, this part 3 of Schedule 2 applies to exactly to the staff appointed then by the chief officer to support the leader of the opposition. Because now that post holder, the opposition leader, will have official staff, but again, hired by the chief officer, and that position will be governed under the rules in part 3 of the schedule, and we will go through that as well. Because this is giving the opposition leader proper office structure. But again, the staff are not chosen by the leader. Clause 5, as seen there, pretty much centralizes the control of the constituency office staff under the chief officer. And that means that people who run the MP's office, answer your calls, manage and access your representatives are not hired by the MP and don't answer to the MP. And this, for some of you are saying, could possibly raise some questions, again, about the independence and accountability. Yes, even the leader of the opposition will have staff chosen by a chief officer, not the elected leader. So the question still remains, I'm seeing it. Who does the staff really serve? This clause, my friend, is just not administrative. It changes the power structure of constituency offices. You're seeing now in clause 6 where it's updating the structure. And what this clause changes in section 13, which deals with the structure and responsibilities of the commission. And that is the body that manages Parliament's administrative and financial operations. And this amendment that is proposed in subclause 6 pretty much replaces paragraph C with the new version that expands what the commission is responsible for. And what it really says is that the commission will now have these major responsibilities, in that they rule and process that governs the constituency office managers, their assistants, and the leader of the staff or the leader of opposition. Who gets hired, how they're hired, their terms and conditions, their contracts, their employment rules. This centralizes staffing power under the commission, okay? This is exactly how it's laid out into this. And why this matters is because it definitely removes MPs. And MPs no longer have the control over their staff, as we said before. Yes. And it sets out the key political roles. So pretty much the commission will decide how much money these roles receive in allowances as well. Yes. And this includes the increase of 6,500 constituency office allowance, the special allowance for Cayman and Little Cayman MPs, the allowance for the premier, the allowance for the leader of the opposition as well. And this clause ties the commission directly to the financial decisions that affects members of parliament, constituency offices, and leadership roles as well. Because what it does, it gives the commission significant influence over public spending and political resources. Yes. This very same clause 6 gives that commission enormous powers, not just over staffing, but over the money the members of parliament receive for their office and roles. And the said commission will now control who works in your MP office and how much money that the office receives. And this centralizes power away from the elected representatives, which some of you will say, thank God. Some of you may say, no, it's not making much sense. They better look at that again. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing you. In an administrative body, that's really what it's doing. Because again, when the public is paying $6,500 a month for an office, the public deserves clear accountability, not just a system where responsibility is blurred. Because a lot of you are still saying, where are the MP's offices in my constituency? I don't know. You all don't really understand what this money is for. You think that it's just additional money for them to give out. Yeah. What this clause in 6 is saying is that it affects both staffing, money, and it strengthens the commission control over both. And pretty much these roles are now officially part of the Parliament staffing system. Yes, that's what that is saying. Just moseying on to clause 7, that is going to be speaking about salary increases. We see in this bill where the deputy speaker and the deputy leader of the opposition gets a 10% extra on top of their monthly salary. So in plain English, 2 MPs get a pay bump. They get a pay up bump. Yes, they get more money. And what this is doing is that, I come into that WhatsApp. This clause changes Schedule 1, which deals with the salaries, allowances, and benefits for cabinet members and elected MPs. Now, it makes 2 very specific changes. Both of them are pay increases. The deputy speaker allowance increases from 2.5% to 10%. The deputy speaker used to get an extra 2% on the top of their monthly salary. Now, what is being proposed in this bill, they will get a 10%. That is a quadrupling of the allowance. And this is a significant pay increase for one position without any explanation in the bill about the increased responsibilities, increased workload, performance requirements, and accountability measures. Maybe it may be cited in the regulations. I don't know. I'm delivering what the bill is saying. This bill is saying it is simply a raise. And the other part of this is saying that the deputy leader of the opposition allowance also increases from 2.5% to 10%. The deputy leader of the opposition allowances increases from 2.5% to 10%. That's 10% of their monthly salary. Again, a quadrupling for the allowance. Just like the deputy speaker, this is a major increase with no clear wording or how. There is no justification, no performance standards outlined, no accountability in the requirements. It's simply a raise. Maybe when they're tabling this on the floor of Parliament, you will hear more about it. Maybe as this is out for public discussion, based on whatever sites they so choose to go on to break it down from their perspective, they will take the time to justify this and make it clear with what we're pointing out. Because what Clause 7 is saying, in a nutshell, it increases the allowances to the deputy speaker, the deputy leader of the opposition, to 10%, a 4-fold increase. And like I said for the 2 position, at this point in time, what's in the public's domain, there's no explanation, no justification, no accountability tied to these rises. Because while the public is struggling with the cost of living, you're saying it every day. I'm seeing your comments and I'll get to you in a second. This bill quietly increases political allowances. And don't you feel as a jurisdiction that you deserve transparency about why these increases are necessary and what value the public receives in return? That's just a general question. This, my friends, is not about service. It is about the benefits. And it's the benefits without accountability are not in the public's best interest. I'm getting it. Yes, I'm getting it. Andrew says, how many offices are there? That's 80,000 a year. Times how much? Well, we don't even know where some of these offices are. And it's unclear. Now, I stand to be corrected. Some are sharing, some don't have any. Some, they are existing, but they're not properly managed for whatever reason, despite their staff not being paid out of their salary. they're all being paid out of government, out of your money, out of Parliament. So I don't know. But we'll go on I'm seeing where your questions are going and your concerns, and please keep them coming in because I'm delivering only what the bill is saying, right? Those people should be civil servant is what Dean is saying. Damian Henry says, where is the money coming from? How will it be funded? Anita says, whoa, why 10%? Why not 5%? How does salary increase compared to our region overall, our region or the overall Commonwealth? Very interesting question, Miss Anita. And we got a WhatsApp that came in. Good evening, Sabrina. They're giving the MPs more money, but civil servants can't get a 1 cent added to their salary. What the heck? Yeah, keep them coming in. This is public consultation is all about, right? Keep it coming in. I'm quite sure they will see it, and hopefully in their preparation for when this is tabled on the floor of Parliament, some of your questions, concerns will be answered there and then, or if they're going to do any public appearances, they will try to address some of these here before it gets to the floor of Parliament. Bearing in mind, once they get on the floor of Parliament, your input really is nothing, because at that time now, it's being debated. Yes, it's being debated. We go on to clause 8. Now, this is the big one, because what this clause is saying, it's pointing to Schedule 2 of this bill that is being replaced. And this, my friends, is the most important part. Why? I say this because this part creates new rules, again, for the constituency office managers, staff of the Leader of the Opposition, and what we just covered. It increases the constituency allowance of $6,000 to $6,500 per month for every single elected member of Parliament. This is addition to their salary, okay? So what this is, in this Schedule 2, is that your MPs will get more money for their constituency office, but the bill does not require proof that the office exists, proof that the office is open, proof that the MPs attend, proof of how the money is spent. There's no proof of reporting, accountability, or performance standard. And this is where the public, and getting the questions, needs clarification. Yes. Schedule 2 of this. Schedule 2. Skipping right along so that you, my friends, can be a part of it. That is the part where the old Schedule 2 replaces the brand new Schedule 2, where the law sets out again who constituency assistants are. Exactly. It also, who constituency office managers are as well, and how they will be hired, what rules they follow, and how constituency allowance work, and what allowance the Premier gets, what allowance the Leader of Opposition gets, and what allowance the BRAC and Little Cayman MPs get as well. So by repealing Schedule 2 and substituting the schedule for what they're proposing, is that they're scrapping the old rules and replacing them with a completely new system. Yes, they're with a new system that will now encompass constituency office staffing, constituency office money, leadership allowance, BRAC and Little Cayman allowances. And this is really the heart of this bill. Yes, because all it is saying is that ministers get more staff, and a minister can now choose between their two options, right? 2 full-time assistants and 1 part-time assistant. Or option 2, one full-time office manager, one full-time assistant, one part-time assistant. Ministers get 3 staff members for their constituency office, while non-cabinet ministers can choose between one full-time assistant, one part-time assistant, or one full-time office manager and one part-time assistant. Yes. So regular MPs will get 2 staff members, okay? While cabinet ministers can get 3 because of their workload is what is being pushed, right? And with MPs with large constituencies, they can get extra staff. So if an MP represents a constituency with more than, let's say, 1,700 registered voters, they get 1 extra full-time assistant, which brought up another conversation over the weekend when these boundaries commission now look at their thing. And I'm hearing the conversation whether or not it's fair that all constituencies be given the same amount, because we know that finding a space in, let's say, Georgetown versus in the outer districts are harder, but looking at expense, it's more expense. Comparing the sister islands to even Grand period is totally different. But that's a conversation for another episode, keeping the attention on the bill. So what this is saying is that bigger constituencies will equate to more staff. Yes. And what full-time and part-time means as provided here, full-time means 37 and a half to 40 hours per week, which is the standard government hours. Anyone knows that, right? And then a part-time staff is a portion of those hours depending on the contract. So these are regular government style jobs, not casual or political hires is what this bill is trying to do, right? And all staff are actually contracted by the commission, the constituency office managers and their assistants. They're contracted by Parliament, by the commission. Works under the contract issued by the commission and are not employees of your elected representatives. So your MPs do not employ their own staff. I've been repeating that. There's a reason. And the commission in this case does. This is a major shift in control when it comes to the pay and the benefits under subsection 4, as I have here. The salary and the pension and the health benefits, all similar to what public servants receive as it is. And these are government funded positions with full benefits. Yes. Section 5, it says the chief officer appoints the staff, but must take advice from the MP. You see the hybrid there? So MPs can recommend who they want, but the chief officer makes the final decision. This means MPs do not have hiring power. The chief officer can override their preference. And when you look at number 6, the chief officer writes the job duties after consulting with the member of Parliament. And what this means is that the MP can advise, but the chief officer decides what the staff actually do. Moving to 7, it actually says when employment ends for these people, if A, they resign, if the chief officer ends the contract with the MP's advice, it goes into breaking down to C, where the MP who recommended them leaves office or other than dissolution, And after dissolution, if the MP is not nominated again. E, after dissolution, if the MP is nominated but loses the election. So really and truly, every one of these staff are tied to the MP's political life. And if the MP leaves, the staff leaves too. Before we go into termination allowances, let's take this call. Good evening, caller. Welcome to the show. You're live.
Hi, friend.
Hello. Good evening. How are you?
Not too bad. So I just wanted to, not to call in back for clarification. Did I understand you saying that the new changes that are coming about with respect to constituency office support, I'll just call them support for right now, is now at the behest of the chief officer and no longer within the remit of the MP?
That's what the bill is saying based on interpretation.
So that
In
role,
consultation with the member of parliament. But the final decision will rest on the chief officer.
So typically from my memory and I guess the way it was intended to operate, the current legislation, basically that person is tied to the MP. That person is hired based on the MP's request and can be let go under those same circumstances if the MP no longer wants or requires their services.
Or if the relationship has broken down to a point that they can't be trusted, because you know the importance of a constituency office staff.
Absolutely.
They can make or break your election.
But this is what I'm driving at. And what I'm saying is, if the suggestion is now that this is going to be changed so that if that relationship, that marriage, because essentially it's kind of what it is, you know, it has to be a relationship based on trust, confidentiality. I mean, it is essentially a fiduciary responsibility between the MP and that, let's just say in this case, I think the constituency manager. That person is dealing with not only the MP's confidential information, but also constituents' confidential information. And we would hope that that information wouldn't be misused or mishandled in any way. However, we know that that is not always the case. So is it the suggestion by this bill that should that relationship be irretrievably broken, the MP really has kind of no recourse, or is that only in theory?
Well, in true essence of what I'm reading for interpretation, it comes in similar to that of working in the ministry, where the operational arm is almost being diluted. Pretty much what you're feeling in the ministry versus what that temperature is now seeping into constituencies, offices, based on what is being presented here.
Well, that's an interesting move. It makes me question.
You have heard both sides where the separation of powers, the Section 55, and I have heard a lot of the elected arms saying, look, we don't have as much control as you think. And, you know, in the constituency, which is closer to your voters, now, if they're making that behavior that they have complained about happening in the ministry for separation of powers, letting that seep in, and I stand to be corrected, it's just what I'm seeing playing out in the bill. Are they did they read this?
Well, this is precisely, I think, and I mean, this is something that they were specifically charged with, making sure that the right information got put into the bill, right? Let me not speak for MPs because they collect a salary every single month on whatever their government payday is, whether or not they show up for work. However, it is the constituents who feel the pain for them not doing their job, right? And my only concern I would like to raise with this potential bill, should it come to pass, is a breach of data. A breach of data. If that function is now going to be, and I would like to think that we are more mature than this.
Break down the breach of data.
I will. We are a very small community, a very small society, and on a constituency level, even smaller,
Mhm.
but very large in the information that we share. And I guess my concern is Sabrina has hired Siobhan in her office as her constituency manager.
Mhm.
And this is not too far-fetched. We have seen this just as recent as last election,
Mhm.
where a relationship broke down between an MP, I think she was a sitting minister at the time, and her, I guess what would have been her constituency, what they now classify as her constituency manager. There was a breakdown in relationship there.
Mhm.
And that individual put putting out all sorts of information and all sorts of business that you would have otherwise said that should be confidential. No, I'm not ignorant to the fact that we do live in a small community and stuff is going to get out.
Mhm.
I'm not suggesting that it's right or okay, but that is the reality that we live in. Information is going to get out. And if you are standing at Sabrina's office, God knows you ain't there for nothing else besides NAU help, because God forbid you need to get something notarized by the MP as a JP.
Mhm.
You understand? The thing is, removing the controls in terms of who the MP is allowed to keep within their employ is a double-edged sword. An MP can use it to be vindictive because they may, Sabrina do not like my sister, and something went down, and Sabrina found out that, what she thought that my family had supported her was in fact not the case, and can't have Siobhan. Can't have Siobhan up in here no more because her family didn't, they didn't support Sabrina, and it's abundantly clear now. Look at what they're saying on the open airwaves.
Mhm. Mhm.
There's no protection for the employee in that. Well, there is protection for the employee in that regard. However, I think the biggest burden that we ought to be protecting is the confidentiality of the constituents. Everybody who goes to the MP's office, whatever they go there for, is a confidential matter. Nobody should know that I visited an MP's office, whether it was to get assistance with employment, assistance with DFA, a mere signature for a passport form. Nobody should know. And the fact that this is kind of up in the air, going to be tossed about as to who is going to make a decision as to whether or not my information is going to be in the public domain. And I'm going to say it like that because that is exactly the risk that we are facing right now. That doesn't sit well with me. That doesn't sit very well with me at all. That, like I said, that relationship is a fiduciary relationship. You are entrusted with information that is maybe very confidential. You're entrusted with the lives of everyday people who have fallen on hard times, people who have become ill, and otherwise we saw the health insurance law be updated to include medically indigent persons. There's still a lot of people who have a lot of pride, as they should, and their information should rightfully be protected. We operate under the data protection law, and that means any information that you regard as private and that you have shared with an external source for that specific reason should be for that reason and no more.
Well, don't you think then, based on what is being crafted and what is being cited in this bill, do you feel then that lessens the chances? Lessens the chances of the scenario that played out before that actually almost caused, because this person is now treated almost like but the damage can still be done.
Well, I was going to say, I don't think it increases or lessens it. But the fact that MPs are now going to kind of be, like I said, whether this is in actuality or just in theory, that an MP is going to be required, and I'll put that in air quotes, required to keep someone in their office, someone that relationship has irretrievably broken down for whatever reason.
And they don't get the support of the chief officer or the commission to remove the individual.
How will that MP be able to move forward with a relationship based on trust and confidentiality, which is a fiduciary relationship? I want to keep that at the forefront of everybody's mind. How is that MP supposed to be able to effectively carry out their duties rely on that person who is there, I would say, eyes and ears in the community, in their office, so to speak. How is that MP supposed to carry out their duties with any trust and confidence that, you know, they are going to maintain the integrity that they signed up for?
But my friend,
That's the confidentiality. If the office is established, there's nothing in here that mandates reporting. That they must establish an office. You must show the public office hours. You should, at least in the public's domain, say what days you're in office, unless, say, for exceptional circumstances when you're in Parliament or you're outside. There's nothing as cited in this bill. Maybe that's coming in the regulations. I don't know. Maybe that may be delivered on the floor of Parliament. I don't know.
I don't think so, because that would create a different level of accountability that I think, based on my experience with all of the MPs, all of my voting life, which has been almost 20 years, I don't think that that's a level of accountability that MPs want. I was told by a former MP that when given his constituents a budget,
to the people?
I'm
not talking, no, to the people, the accountability to the people. You're getting 5,000, 6,000. When I'm talking about this, I'm talking about to the people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I don't think that it is any of the public's business that Sabrina gave Siobhan a $25 gift card that she accounted for from. But I think if you are spending the public's purse, this is the public's purse. Let us be clear. I don't care what they want to call it. They can call it a clown fund. This is the public's money.
Yeah.
They're increasing these constituency budgets willy-nilly. They're offering these office staff, these new things. And I'm not suggesting it's not needed, it's not wanted. That's not what I am suggesting. I just want the public to be clear that this is our money. And how do we know that we are getting value for money?
That's
As
the
you
question.
rightly pointed out, they amended the legislation to ensure these increases move forward. However, there is nothing in legislation that requires them, mandates them, shalls them, if you will, that they shall have an office, that they shall display their working hours, that they shall have at least one person present. For God's sake, we saw an MP that had no office for 5 months last year. We don't even know if he was operating a Sky phone, but he was collecting that $5,000. How does the public know where this money was spent? This is unacceptable. And I am not here suggesting that we need a breakdown, but I think at the bare minimum, to appease the public, that we should at least know that you have an office, what the office hours are. That information is made public. If there are changes to it, right now, I think under the previous legislation, MPs had kind of like, they were allowed, I think, 1 day per week.
The ministry gives you an opportunity to have 1 day designated of the week that you spend in your office. But that was, they know that it's expected whatever day that you choose, as long as it doesn't conflict with cabinet or caucus, that you are not in office because you're giving that weekday to your constituency. Now, that doesn't mean that
a whole lot more to do a whole lot less.
No, but that's only from
a crying shame.
That's only from the ministry. Speaking from experience, there have been days that I was there on the weekends, Saturdays, Sundays. I even changed constituency days, clinics, because of either being in Parliament or having had to attend events and all that. I made that back up. This is only speaking from experience. You understand? And there are times that you go there after 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Well, I told you the reward for good work is more work. The reward for no work is no work.
But my conscience sets me free. But what I'm saying now, you don't even know that.
Yeah,
I made an effort.
That's not good enough.
For me.
That is not good enough for constituents.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry. That is enough. That is not good enough. It is not good enough that for 6 months leading up to an election, you got enough of them, like, God rest her soul, my grandma say, your stomach is sick. Your stomach is sick. So You can't even get a response to an email 30 days on. You show up at their constituency office. They don't know whether you're coming there for a signature, for help. They don't even know.
But
And
that's
their
why they're going to
staff-
have a manager and office assistants now. You don't necessarily have to see
Yeah,
them.
but their office staff, if they're there,
Oh,
if they're there,
okay.
if they're there, look at you like what my grandmother would say a year before. Cow, look at a calf. I think my message today is to the MPs and to their office staff. Hopefully, it gets to them to remember the role that they signed up for, and that on the receiving end of whatever services, MPs are actually providing a service. They are elected to serve. In case they missed that memo, they are elected to serve. They're in service to the constituents, and they need to remember how they got there and why they got there. Right? And I think that message needs to also be imparted to the constituency office staff. Some days you are going to be a social worker. Some days you are going to be a secretary. Some days you are going to be a chauffeur to a senior citizen. And some days you are going to be a bento delivery driver because some senior citizens need some groceries. This is not a role that should be taken up by the faint of heart. And if your skin is very thin, maybe this is not the role for you. But the mere fact that they're going to be doing even less than they're doing now, Lord have mercy, and getting more blows my mind. It quite frankly blows my mind with no explicit requirements that we are aware of. Not even to having an office. Not even to having an office is it explicitly set out in requirement. So Sabrina MP for West and Northwest can decide that, well, she don't need an office. She's going to have a virtual office. And you book your appointments online, and where is that $6,500 going every month? Where is it being spent? How is it being spent?
Rent, electricity, water, internet, office supplies, cleaning, and maintenance.
But Sabrina, if there is no requirement to hold a physical office, what they're renting, airspace or what?
Exactly.
What they're renting?
You said it right.
What the virtual office? Virtual office? This is not good enough. And I want to bring the public's attention to this, that they are putting these laws in place to ensure that they can increase this. I want the public to know that the current $5,000 right now is not separated out from that MP's salary. It is paid into their accounts like a salary. There is no separation of those funds. Okay? So if your MP earns $9,000 a month, he earned $9,000 plus $5,000. What he do with that extra $5,000 is none of your business. That is what that bill says. That is what that bill allows. It is none of your business. And that is ludicrous that in 2026, we are, excuse my language, pissing out $5,000 a month. There are households in this country with two incomes that are not earning $5,000 a month. Yet we have one MP office, or 19, let's put it like it is, at least 19, getting at least $5,000 each that they have to give zero account for. Zero. And I want that to sink in. Zero. There are no strings attached to it. Spend it as you please. Do with it as you like. This is not good enough. That we would have a piece of legislation changed to change the financial aspect or what the financial return is for those offices. Yet we wouldn't have requirements in place such as an office. Are you kidding me?
That it's going to take effect from the 1st of January, 2026, and we're dealing with it in April. So
everything is retroactive.
Yeah.
Everything is retroactive. You know what not retroactive? Them answering their phones. You know what not retroactive? Them picking up their emails. You know what not retroactive? Them showing up for constituency office days. You know what not retroactive? Them reaching out to you. Them coming to your doorstep like they were 6 months before election. That's not what's retroactive. But I want to remind the public, time is longer than work. They will be back there again 6 months in, and you will know the MPs who actually earned your vote. You will know the MPs who actually earned your vote. And at this point, I feel futile a year in, and I'm telling you, disappointment does not begin to explain how I feel, but I might just be one. I might just be one, and I respect that, and I accept that I may only be one. But this is disappointing. This is very, very disappointing, Sabrina. That again in 2026.
What do you do when some people are okay just seeing somebody 6 months before an election, 3 months, 6, maybe 4 weeks before, and you just speak well and your charisma.
What my grandma would say, you can't want what you can't get. You can't want what you can't have. And we have made this the accepted norm. This is the accepted norm that, that's all. This is what you get. This is truly what you get. And if you don't sit at their proverbial table, or dog eat your supper, and in some instances, you can sit at that table and they will ignore you until 6 months after the election. It's pretty sad. And it outrages me, Sabrina. It really, really outrages me that in 2026, this is the mess that we're dealing with. But you know what? None of them, none of the 19 who all campaigned on it, and it outrages me. Those committees, those district committees.
Can't do that unless you change the Constitution. They need to stop using that name. They need to call them something else because they're not district council unless the Constitution is changed.
I don't care if they call it Clown Town. I don't care.
Understood.
The mere fact that every one of them campaigned on it and they all knew what would be required. This is not a conversation that we took up in 2026. This probably goes back to Vision 2008. We see where we are with that. And in 2026, we are no further ahead despite all 56 of them who ran in the last election campaigning to have district councils. Not one of them have made any effort to ensure that even makes it to the table as a discussion.
For correction, I never campaigned on it because I knew it was a constitutional change, but I didn't get elected, so it doesn't matter. I didn't campaign on district council. I supported the groups understanding the impact, but without political will and changing of the Constitution so it could actually function and funded according to was why I did not go there. We were all harping on immigration reform, but yet wanting district councils and not realizing. And I will say that a lot of them were speaking on this district council, had no clue the constitutional change that was required. But because it's what was...
But we elected them. Okay, but we elected them. We elected them. You understand? This is talking about giving you a 6 for a 9. And it is unacceptable that in 2026, voters are so ill-informed. So ill-informed.
But this is why I am doing it in layman's terms. I am doing it. Do not shoot the messenger. I am doing it based on what builds. Nothing that I have said here is from me. Which is why, line by line, your girl is putting up the bill. This is not me. This is why your MPs are proposing. And there is no requirement for proof of office that an office exists. That the office is open, operating hours, nothing.
Some are operating virtual offices because even the office space that they rent, you can go there any day of the week and you'd be hard pressed to find someone. They got some stupid sign up on their door. I am so sick of it. So sick of it. It enrages me, and I'm not mad for myself. I am an able-bodied, under 40. I'm a pretty young person. Who can, for the most part, help myself. But what about senior citizens who require access to different services in their constituency? West Bay is but a 15-minute drive from West Bay for me as a driver, but it is not the same for my elderly grandfather. It is not the same. And that you're going to operate office at your women's fancy, willy-nilly, take the country's $5,000 a month and do absolutely nothing for it is beyond me. It is beyond me. It is beyond me, and let's not talk about the salaries that they're getting. Some of them have never even held a real job in their lives. This is the most money they've ever made. This is the most money they're ever set to make in their life. And they get pushed on and passed on like they're somebody for doing absolutely nothing. It enrages me, Sabrina.
Well, this
It
case is
enrages
here.
me. And then on the heels of doing absolutely nothing, here we are being presented with a bill that we have little to no recourse over, because you can complain until you're blue in the face, but you're going to get the same response. You're going to get the same response that most of the constituents have probably gotten since this new government has taken, which is nothing. And the bill is going to go through. They're going to get more money for doing even less. It enrages me.
Denver is asking for us to. Denver is asking for me to give you a kaboom. They acting triple, but I can give you a kaboom.
Kaboom!
When I saw it initially, I saw it as a news story. I thought it was an April Fool's joke, Sabrina.
No, this is a bill. This is a real bill. I shared the link.
When I heard you reading the bill, my blood pressure went so high.
This is
I don't
real.
know what is going to need to take it down, but I just want to inform the voting public that we just talked about how much debt we were in, that we didn't know if we were going to make a surplus. I see the projections that are going to be, I think, almost quadruple, at least triple what was projected. Just understand that those are just projections. That's not actuality, right? And I'm not suggesting or trying to down anybody or yuck anybody's yum. I'm not. But I just want to tell everybody, right? A projection is just that, what we hope it to be if it keeps trending the way it is. But it's not who spend the most, and not who make the most that save the most. It's not who make the most, it's who saves the most that makes the most. And you can't save $1 over here and spend 10 over there. That's not saving. That ain't saving. They don't even understand the concept. My word. And here we are now. We're going to increase everybody by 30%. It's just a free-for-all. But I remember many people who are sitting MPs and some who are on the outs as campaigners criticizing Miss Juliana O'Connor calling it, and she having a free-for-all with the money, a free-for-all with the country's first, la 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 la. They went on ad nauseum. They have made permanent increases to the government expenditure with no explanation, no rhyme or reason. Explain that to me. Explain that to me. At least Miss Julia could say that was called. At least she could say that. At least she could say I reward hard-working civil servants. Explain this mess to the public. Please, dear God, please, somebody.
Sorry,
explain it to me.
You're saying it's not a level playing field because at the end of the day, the civil servants are hurting. And this is where some of the conversation came up again, that it's not justifiable. You're not getting value for money. There's no accountability.
Sabrina, rent has increased for everybody, everywhere. For everyone,
inflation
everywhere,
is hitting everyone.
Right?
Yeah.
It's absolutely hitting everyone. Again, I want to remind people that there were some MPs who collected at least $30,000, had no office for 5 months, no office hours. They also have staff collecting salaries with no office in sight. Again, they must have been running virtual offices that nobody didn't know. They didn't have numbers. They didn't have contact information for virtual offices. They existed in virtual reality. Okay? Who is giving an account for this $30,000? I don't care if it was $30.
It's pouring in WhatsApp that you must continue talking it. It's coming in. It's coming in.
I'm so tired. There's no justification for the level of creative spending that we're doing on an MP level. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. With no real requirements. No requirements. They set expectations. Well, I expect to live till I'm 99, but that's just a desire, Sabrina. That's just a desire. But these are tangible things that you can set real world, real life expectations for. I expect that your office is going to be open at 8:30 and close at 5. I expect that. No, you're going to open at 10 o'clock and close at 4. While I go on to work and before I finish. If I want to see you, it'll be between them hours, and if I can't, well, dog eat my supper because your MP ain't answering. They ain't answering. And we hear again. I don't have words.
Well,
How disgusted I am by this piece of legislation.
A comment is coming in on WhatsApp that says, well, I don't see why they need more money and doing almost nothing and talking about putting one person, putting one more person in minister's office. Lord have mercy. They supposed to close at 4, but you go there at 3:50 and at least one leaving the office about doing errands and collecting seniors medication. The other one, no way in sight. And this is what we have to pay for. Like what the heck? Yeah.
One was on vacation. One was on vacation for 10 days before they had an official office. In one instance that I know about was on vacation for 10 days before they had an office.
The comment
Make that mess make sense.
Also said more money, less work. They want it for their family and friends to work in the office because they are handpicked. But this now, based on the proposal, it will be now in consultation, my WhatsApper, in consultation with the chief officer of Parliament. So the hand-picking part, which is why the transitionary clause is going to be interesting, because what happens to all of those contracts Sabrina, that are now in effect?
To me, that is only in theory. I don't think that is reality or even realistic. They put that up there to give you some cock-up piece of legislation to make people, that's only it. So you are telling me that Sabrina is my MP and me and her are chimpa and bate. And me and her fall out because she found out that my family actually didn't support her in the last election and she don't want me in her office no more. And that the chief officer is going to say, oh no,
it's a delicate
you got to keep her.
It's very delicate.
That is a farce. Mm-hmm. That is a farce. Mm-hmm. Okay? An absolute farce. But like I said, they're getting more money for doing they're doing nothing now. So there was less than nothing. What is less than nothing? Mm-hmm. You got some MPs talking about, well, I am a, don't forget, I got 2 roles now. So that increases my capacity and don't forget a bird or God forbid, if you require them to walk and chew chewing gum at the same time, they can't get that done. That's too much. That is too much.
But this additional for those who think for the context, right? Who is the chief officer that will put it in final? That is the Commission of Parliament, the Parliamentary Commission. The chief officer, Miss Zena, right now is like the chief officer, but it is a parliamentary council that runs, and she chairs that council for my WhatsApp question. But please note that there are also allowances that are there for the public's edification. There is a Premier's executive allowance too, There's a $5,000 per month. The Premier gets an additional $5,000 every month on top of the salary and other benefits. So at the end of the day, the leader of opposition, the leader of the opposition gets an additional $3,500 every month. No additional justification provided. Then we see where the Cayman and Little Cayman MPs get $5,000 per month, and this allowance is split into 2 parts because $2,500 is for accommodation. $2,500 is for transportation. So they get an extra $5,000 per month to cover their housing when they are on Grand or traveling between the islands. And this addition is to their salary, their constituency allowance, and other allowances. You understand that? So these are for our people representing, so that's an additional $5,000. This is just to make you know exactly what is already there, what is already in motion.
I don't know, Sabrina. I don't know if we know what we're doing or if we lost our ever-loving mind.
But it was already there. I just don't think people really realize now that this is an amendment to really just either increase, modernize it. People are just realizing what's there. And like I said, this unless they choose not to. I think that people were, well, you know me, I like to keep myself abreast and keep these people accountable, right? I have always known and I have always understood the constituency budget.
I've always understood it. I've always had a problem with it.
Mhm.
And I spoke to a former parliamentarian and two, actually, one who believes that all of the funds should be accounted for. And he said he used to keep like a little running list
Mhm.
of, what he did. And he said his co-MP, let's call it that for now, said, oh, so you can use that to scandalize them. And he said, what? He said, no, because I don't want anybody to accuse me of misusing constituency funds. And the other MP said to that MP, I would like to know the SOB that's going to ask me how I spent my constituency money. Okay? And you see what comes before funds? Constituency. That means all. In my constituency, I think it's about 1,700, 1,500, somewhere thereabouts. I stand corrected. Right? That's our money. That's our money. And I think we deserve to know where this money has gone. Again, I don't need to know that Sabrina came by.
Gave you $25.50. Yeah.
So,
That's confidential.
I don't need to know that. But I think that we ought to know that 500 went to, and with receipt, 500 went to CUC vouchers. 200 went to Cayman Water vouchers. Whatever went to Foster's gift cards. I assisted with whatever. This is our money. And if we continue to allow these increases, what I'm saying is, my God, Sabrina, at one point, the budget used to be, I think, 3,000. If memory serves correct, I think the budget used to be 3,000. Because I remember this coming up in a 2021 campaign. And when I shut that former MP up, they had to rewrite their whole argument because I reminded them they were accusing another MP of misappropriating constituency funds. I had to remind them how much they had received with no accountability for it. We've never heard that conversation come up again.
I could be honest with you.
Never.
Let me just be very honest with you. It's two ways you look at this whole constituency allowance thing. Just let me get real. You're either going to fund it with the people's monies in order to appease the voters who hijack you for not giving them food cards, food vouchers, paying their utilities, and then threaten you with their vote, or you find a sponsor. Hold on. I'm speaking from a fact of knowing, right? But is that what the MPs are there for? It has to be funded somewhere, somehow. And if this 6.5, which is not given to do what I have said, because DFA is supposed to help, but you know how it goes. You have worked in the space. When those constituents come to you and they're in need, you have the urge of serving and you want to do it. My friend, it has to be funded by some organization or someone. And if the people's money is not funding it, then guess what? Some funder, some financier, some donor is going to meet all your needs, but it ain't free.
And I hear you. And I'm not, hear me clearly, I am not suggesting that we do away with a constituency budget or allowance, whatever you want to call it.
No, but what I'm saying is this allowance is not even for anything that I've said, which says we have a bigger job of educating the public.
Sabrina, but that is for the MPs who are genuinely doing right by their constituents.
Gotcha.
I just highlighted to you an MP who didn't have an office for 5 blasted months. Where is the people's money? Where did it go? What did you do with it? How do I know that you didn't pocket that money? How do I know that? How do I know that this hasn't gone to pay your rent, your mortgage, your car bill, your girlfriend, not your baby mama, how do I know? How do I know? It is not an acceptable practice, Sabrina. If you work for a company, they work for Cayman Inc.
Mm-hmm.
Each constituency, West Bay West Inc., West Bay North Inc.,
Mm-hmm.
West Bay South Inc.,
Mm-hmm.
West Bay Central Inc. And I'm using West Bay because I'm a West Bay voter. You work for those constituencies, and the respect that you have for us, that you would facilitate and be a part of a bill that not only gives you more money and less accountability, that I just want to remind the voters, and I can talk to all of them, but I can talk to the ones in West Bay. That's what they think of you. They need more money to do less than they're doing now. And unaware themselves, talking to my West Bayers, unaware themselves, how many messages on the set, how many times on the see me on the roll in the eyes, the ones that said, I'm never voting in this country again. What a mess. I'm talking to Anna. This is what they think of you all. This is what they think of you all. This is what they're doing with your money, your children's money. They're gambling away the future of young Caymanians, your children, your grandchildren, and the grandchildren of those grandchildren that not here yet. That not here yet.
Mm-hmm.
They're not putting nothing aside. They're not putting nothing in place. They're increasing the expenditure and less accountability. This is not okay. This is not okay. Some using their cars for Friday outings. Some going to Timbuktu on the weekend. Some using it to transport their parents, their children, their dogs, their birds. This is not okay. At the end of the day, somebody is paying the bill. Someone is paying the bill. And you want me to tell you who it is? It's you and me, the voting public in this country. The voting public in this country is indirectly paying that bill. We cannot allow them to continue with more money and less accountability. It boils my blood. Remember that we have senior citizens out there
Mm-hmm.
who are uninsured, who have little to no pension, through no fault of their own, no fault of their own. And just remember how much more appropriately these funds could be distributed than what they're currently seeking to do with it. I'm sorry, no increase is needed. I don't care if the rent goes through the ceiling. Like I said, if you can operate for 5 months with a virtual office, continue.
Yeah,
Give the people their money.
But at what price?
Well, Sabrina, they got office and they're not doing nothing else, so what's the difference? What's the difference? You got it for what?
Mm-hmm.
For what? A sign, nobody not there, the door is locked in on vacation and be back tomorrow and cow dead horse fart. Are you kidding me? This is good enough. All I want you to do, and I'm going to leave you there because my soul is just
Andrew said, please don't get
boiling.
no heart attack over it. Please. Please. Don't
My
get no
soul
heart attack.
is just boiling. All I want to know, right? Since there are no requirements in place, should a constituent require access to an MP office for whatever reason? Maybe you just want to go there to visit to make sure that they're there. Maybe you just want to see that the office exists. Maybe you want to know who the staff are. Maybe you want to go get a signature. Maybe you just want to look around. You're paying for that. And as long as you are not disorderly, that's your right. That is your right. If you have not been excluded, you are not a trespasser. You are a guest. You are a guest. I'm not telling nobody to carry on and go to these MPs, but just go take a look, make sure that it's there, make sure that you're getting what you are getting,
a lot
what
of the people,
you are paying for.
A lot of the people did not understand the function of the constituency office. I had more people.
But that is by design, Sabrina. Sabrina, that is by design. That is by design.
And you have Islands, West Bay. I had people coming to mind because they could pretty much by clockwork knew on those days that I was in office.
Because I told you the reward for good work. The reward for good work is more work.
Mm-hmm.
More work. And the MPs that do less get more. Clearly, this is a precise example. You getting less work, more pay. Less work, more money. Don't worry, you will soon hear that their salaries going up again. Don't you worry. You will soon hear that, and they're going to service 2 more people in their constituency. And by God, they can't be expected to do that for $15,000 a month when they're doing nothing now. I am so tired of it, Sabrina. So
well, we
tired.
shouldn't. I just hope that by means of this medium that, people will understand first and foremost is the awareness. We're bringing the awareness here. There is nothing that I've shared here tonight that's not in the public's domain. There's a bill. I just take it as a promise to the people that I do my best in breaking it down in layman's terms to open the dialogue, to start the discussion. But at the end of the day, when this goes on the floor of Parliament to be debated, if
we really have no say, Sabrina.
Exactly.
We really
You
have
said it.
no say. And you can take my word for it or don't. The immigration bill, I wrote in, and I even got a receipt confirmed. Okay? You can provide feedback on this bill until you are blue in the face. Nothing is going to change.
Well, you see where the law firms are begging now for regulations. We still haven't seen regulations. And it's pushed back yet again from Tom Foods Day now to 1st of May.
Woman. Well, that was a joke. It was a Tom Food joke. Right? But all I want, if you could share, because I didn't hear that as being part of the legislation, but if your constituency office, I don't care whether it's in Grand Cayman, West Bay, or Cayman Brac, whatever their office's name, I don't know. Right? But if your office is not operational and functional, be reasonable. If the office is closed because they're going to lunch, okay. But I'm really sorry. If they're going to lunch every day from 10 to 5, I think that's a problem. Who do we report that to? And it can't be the MP.
No, but in this case, then the accountability then in making sure, based on this bill, you would make that report then to the chief officer, which would be
the chief officer.
Yeah, for accountability.
Okay.
But it's still the lines are still very blurred. And then outside of that, then your only way of accountability is how you vote in the next elections.
No. I will make myself available. If I want to call you, you have permission to share my number.
Okay.
But if you go to your MP's office, and again, I want to be clear, be reasonable. But if you go there in your MP's office, maybe what you need, the MP has to do it. Make an appointment to get it done and be reasonable. But if the MP doesn't need to do it, remember that it is the role of that office staff to be the arms and legs of that MP. So to the best of their ability, have them assist you. But if you go there and consistently they're closed, they're not there, or don't have an office, contact me here. I will help you. If you are unable to, I would be more than willing to help you pen an email to the chief officer, you said? With responsibility for this
bill. As cited in this bill.
With the chief officer and that MP, because that is unacceptable conduct. Unacceptable. It is no use in waiting 6 months before the next election when you're going to forget. When you're going to forget, or your heart got a little soft because you like Sabrina. And I remember in 2001 when she was so nice to me, but you forget that she didn't do nothing for you the last 3 years. Yeah, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I will help you pen an email to that chief officer.
But the final
to make a
decision,
complaint.
as cited in the bill, it's the chief officer who does all of this. But the final decision then belongs to the commission. No, the commission. The commission. The parliamentary commission.
In theory, wink. The commission, wink, wink. The commission, wink, wink. Right? Because we are all so stupid that they would insult our intelligence in that way. Again, laws. I put air quotes around that, laws, right? But again, I implore everybody to exercise their constitutional right. And if it is even showing up to that MP office, just to make sure it exists. You had MPs talking about, well, the first thing they were going to do is to make sure that they had an office. It took them 5 months. We don't know what happened to that 30,000. You got some renting a bedroom in a house. You got some renting an apartment attached to a house. You got some with no office. All kind of things going on with your money, people. All kinds of things. And I will not stop harping on it. I'm going to keep them accountable. I'm going to keep them accountable because they deserve to be. They are spending the public's purse. Public meaning you, me, everybody.
We've highlighted a lot of the issues. And I think what people are looking for and hoping that they will actually see, Darlene laughing, is that, at the end of the day, some of the solution that I feel may have made people more accepting of this bill is where they were clearly outlined in this bill. And maybe it's coming, I don't know, that there are mandatory office hours, that there is mandatory MPs presence, mandatory reporting of some sort with reason, of course, and then proof of an office. Let's say a lease agreement, photos, I don't know, public spaces. And
No, Sabrina, we need in the bare minimum a lease agreement.
But what about a government building? What do you feel a constituency office should be in a government building?
Well, I'll tell you what, it would save the public purse about $5,000 times 19 per month.
But it doesn't say that if a constituency office is in a government facility right now, that money is cut. They still get it.
No, and I know. I don't think that any of them. I would like to believe. Let me not make any sweeping generalizations because I'll be, God knows, I'll be giving them a whole lot of credit. I would like to believe that none of them are that unintelligent to try to set up an office in the government building. But
I didn't say government building, in a government building.
I don't think that any of them are that unintelligent, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong, and I'm willing to stand corrected. But again, anything that seeks to get more money with less accountability should be a red flag.
Okay.
Should be a red flag. And we need more answers than this. But again, I remain available. I remain at the country's disposal. Should you not be able to either have access to your MP's office on a regular basis with reasonableness attached?
What about community?
You can't.
What about our community town halls? That's a question. One in C, it's government.
That gone the same way that the district committee is gone.
No, but what they're saying, that Andrew is asking, what about if a constituency office is set up in a community town hall or town hall?
What's that? Well, if the bill don't even require them to have an office, what precludes them from doing that? Come on now. Andrew, you stop asking those sensible things. Come on now. We just went over the fact.
Just food for thought.
We just went over the fact that these people want more of your money for less responsibility and no accountability. This is not less accountability. This is no accountability. They didn't even add an enhancement to add a pinch more of accountability. They don't even have a requirement of an office. So it could exist at sabrinaturner.mp.virtual office. Let's remember that. And she collecting your 6,000, what should be soon 6,500, because I ain't seen nobody that go and stand up and vote against this bill and say, you know what, this is not acceptable. We can make it work with what we have.
Well, this will be a telltale. This will be a huge telltale. And it all depends on how they break it down as well in their individual constituencies. It'll be a very interesting debate.
I am not a psychic, and I don't claim to have those powers of predictions, but my intuition tells me that this bill is going to pass. There's going to be more money to go around. You get $1, you get $1, you get $1. No, it's $1,500. You get 15, you get 15, you get 15 times 19. right? So everybody's getting a $1,500 increase that we now know is retroactive to Jan 1, 2026. So that is, by the time this bill passes, they'll get an additional maybe $7,000-8,000 on top of the $30,000 that I highlighted earlier that was unaccounted for.
That's a good part,
Wow.
Woodrow.
Wow.
Look here, leave me there. We are in overtime.
Well,
I'm gonna get in trouble.
representation.
I'm gonna get in trouble. I hope I'm not cutting into any. I didn't recall seeing another share tool, but yeah, my apologies.
No,
I
but
don't
again,
want to skimp
I
into
remain
anybody's time.
available. I remain available should your constituent's office not be performing at the level in which you expect it to perform. If you want to make a complaint and you need help, Sabrina can give you my details. I'll leave you there.
There you go. Thank you so much, caller. Have a good evening. Yes, there we have it. Yeah, we're in overtime. Andrew was just asking, saving funds. Well, even if that is a case and we decide to lessen it, and let's say constituency offices are established in government town halls or community centers, then you're saying then that they shouldn't actually get that amount, Andrew. Maybe that's something to consider, but not every constituency is the same. So maybe that may work in some of the smaller outer districts, maybe, I don't know, but it may not necessarily be the same. There was a question that came in on WhatsApp, which is the largest, they were saying, isn't West Bay South the largest voting area? Actually, to be honest, and I thought it was good for me to share this with you, based on stats, it's now Bordentown East, which is MP John John's area. Hence, when the boundaries were being drawn, they were considering and adding additional seat, maybe somewhere in that area. Yeah, so we don't know. We don't know. But yeah, it's right now, you can go and check the the voters registration list. The highest number was Bordentown East. And of course, that continues to be updated. So maybe it may shift. I don't know right now. But right now, Bordentown East had the largest registered voters. And I think we need to do some cleanup on that as well. Let's see. Andrew says, remember the story of the 10 bridesmaids? 5 wise, 5 foolish. Woeful ways makes woeful wants. Well, woeful wants, and all of us will be feeling it. So let me just close with this, my friends, because I managed to go through all of the clauses in this bill and all of the allowances, all of the structures, and even all of the explanations to the best of my ability based on interpretation. Thank you, Siobhan, for calling in and for being so willing to participate and assist those who feel that they're being underserved in their respective constituencies. Siobhan has publicly disclosed and given approval that you can contact her. But the truth is really simple. This is really not about politics, you know. This is about the value of your money. And it's really about the value of accountability. This, my friends, is about fairness. So just not get politics intertwined into all of this. Because this is about whether or not the people of this country are really getting what they pay for. And in this case, what they pay for is exactly where these funds are going. Now, if inflation is real enough to increase political budgets based on what's in the public's domain, then inflation is real enough to help the public as well. Would you agree? And if the cost of living is high enough to justify more money for offices, then it is high enough to justify more support for families, more relief for seniors, more protection even for workers, and more investments in our young people as well. We, my friends, cannot have a system where the only place inflation looks as though it's taken seriously is inside what we're seeing now, a political budget. That, my friends, is not fairness. You see it for yourself. And that may even question leadership, not service. But let me say it clearly, having been there. If your member of parliament wants to increase, which I'm quite sure can be justified, of $6,500 per month for their constituency office, then what I'm getting from your feedback is that the office must not be virtual. It must exist. That the office must operate and must do service for the people. not sometimes, not occasionally, not when it's convenient either. Because every month the public pays. Every month the public deserves service. And we're not asking for anything unreasonable is what I'm seeing you come across with WhatsApp and on your comments here. All I'm seeing that you're asking is for transparency. All you're asking is for accountability because it's wide open from what we're seeing. And what I hear you asking is for leadership that feels that what the people feel. Right now, it's like people are not convinced that you're really getting the hardships that they're feeling. Yeah. Because I'm getting in different forums that leadership understands the pressures it fosters and that leadership understands the rent increases, the projected forecasting of what could be an inevitable reality. Yes. And calling for accountability is not an attack. Calling for transparency is not an attack. Calling for fairness is not an attack. It's every person in this country's right. It's their responsibility. It's the duty of your citizens to ask for all of these things. Don't misread it as an attack. Because we talk so much about transparency and diplomacy. What we need to remember is that democracy does not work when people really honestly stay silent. And I applaud everyone for commenting. I applaud everyone for calling in. Democracy, my friends, don't use the word if you don't really even understand what it is. It works when people stay also informed. And it works when people remain engaged. And it works when people demand value for money. So, as I leave you this evening today, with this conversation today, accountability is not by any means punishment. It is about protection. Protecting your money and protection of your rights and also your democracy. Because the biggest takeaway that I'm seeing, WhatsApp, all here, and in combination with the call, is that you're saying, look here, we deserve better than this. And right now, you're not feeling that you're getting value for money. And that's what you deserve. This brings us to the close of today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. I welcome your feedback. Please, please, please keep them coming in. Thank you for all of you who participated. Thank you for your calls, your messages, and sometimes the conversation continues in a brief message, even after the fact. Until tomorrow, please be safe on our roads. Thank you to all of our frontline services for the work that you do. Thank you for your service. Please stay safe. God bless. Love you all lots. See you tomorrow for another informative discussion and episode of Sabrina Speaks. Good night, everyone.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.